Hi, everybody. My name is Amber Sanchez, and today I will be touching on the history and background culture in Australia. So, my first slide is just an introduction to Australia and then a touch on their history as well. So, the Aboriginal people have lived in Australia for about 45 to 80,000 years ago. First research proved that they were there 45,000 years ago, but with newer research obviously growing every day, it is later proven it was more around 80,000 years ago. So, before colonization in Europe, in Australia, communities thrived across diverse environments. European colonization that happened in 1788 brought disease and displacement, as would be expected. And then modern Australia right now is mostly democratic and multicultural and focuses on the Aboriginal rights. Now, my next slide touches on the religious influence and the language. So, the Aboriginal spiritual centers on the dreaming, which is believed to be ancestral creation stories. Totemism links individuals with the nature and the community. The major religions today is mostly Christianity and secularism. I also included a little picture up here just to give a better percentage. So it's 53% Christianity, 8% another religion, it's 29% none, and then 10 is just not stated. English is the domain language. However, the traditional storytellings do remain vital. And then a little touch into the description of their food habits. It does include so their modern cuisine blends a little bit of British, Aboriginal, and immigration traditions, as we would, keeping a little bit of the traditional ways in there, with also a form of just bringing in different cultures and different aspects of food. So, the common foods that they do include in most of their meals are meats, grains, dairy. They are big on barbecue, Vegemite, if you've ever heard of that, pasta, and obviously pizza. Based in Europe. So the Aboriginal bush tuckers, they eat kangaroo, emu, turtle, and witch Witchetty grubs. I thought that I included that in the slide because it's just something that we don't see in America too often, actually ever. But I thought it was interesting that, they eat off of the land. So just like anyone, they eat off the land. So that's just the animals that they have. So their cooking methods do include fire stick farming, drying, and then natural tools to cook as well, and a little bit into their food traditions and holidays. If you can see the little picture, it kind of includes the desserts that they make. So on April 25th, they have Anzac biscuits to honor the World War One soldiers. In Australian Day, which is January 26th, it marks the British colonization. So this is the foods that they would eat, like they would prepare for them. And then for their preservation, they do traditional drying versus the newer methods, which is modern freezing and canning is very popular. And their health guidelines in Australia is they eat variety of foods, they limit their fat, sugar, and their alcohol levels. So the evolution of their food habits obviously have changed as new people have come over. So their leading health issue is going to be heart disease, cancer, and surprisingly obesity, since they have a wide variety and different foods to offer. The indigenous Australians face higher rates of chronic illness and malnutrition. Remote regions have limited access to fresh, affordable foods. And they encourage lean meats, whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. However, that's not always accessible. So sometimes, just like us in America, we do have to tend to go for the cheaper, more affordable options, which may not always be the healthiest for us. Now I will touch on the economic and geographic factors. So the geographic geography is the vast land deserts and fertile coast influence agriculture, which while I was doing some research on Australia, I thought it would be more just desert, but the views in the different kind of climates and scenery they have there is so beautiful. So it really shocked me to see how much different settings that they have, and it's beautiful. I might want to visit there one day. So their borders are going to be surrounded by oceans. They are an import supplement local food supply, which they are close to water, so that makes sense. Their education rates are high. They're lower in poverty, but inequality persists in indigenous areas, which makes sense for anywhere. The foods cost higher in rural and remote communities. So, on to the community and traditional health beliefs. I did include a little picture which I was reading about this, and it's just very interesting to see how they incorporate all these into their lives. So, the communication style is generally low context, which is just direct. The Aboriginal health beliefs emphasize balance between mind, body, and land, which, again, if you read the little diagram I show here, that kind of incorporates how they untie everything. Their healing includes spiritual and community based practices. And then the modern healthcare integrates Western and traditional methods. So they do have a lot of home remedies and stuff that they do, while, of course, incorporating the westernized hospital and then health beliefs as that as well. So, some dietary transitions and global influence. If you actually, this was very interesting for me to read. I included this picture because I was kind of in shock that this was how high obesity was fluctuating over there. So, in 1990, 2 in 5 Australians in adults were obese or overweight. Now it's 2 in every 3 people, which is a big jump. And moving to Western countries may increase processed food intake, just like anywhere. Everything's being more normalized. So they have been exposed to new cuisines and health trends, which is plant-based, gluten-free, while maintaining traditional eating supports healthy and identity. Public health programs promote balanced diets and physical activity, which in those other diagrams, it does show how they promote health and how they incorporate all these different aspects into their life. So, obesity isn't the common leading disease. However, it is very high now that it is being westernized. Well, I hope y'all learned a little bit more into Australia and how the cultural aspects have affected the food in the community as well. Thank y'all.